round. So not a ton of information there. Factory is going to go down now for North Quab, along with an expansion. So it looks like North Quab is going for a more economic build, as his opponent is definitely going 1-1-1. Is this Tech Lab? Yeah, we're probably going to see Banshee, maybe? Maybe Banshee, maybe some of that little bit of Marine Tank Viking. There's really all kinds of things that could come out of this Tech Lab, but it looks like it's going to be Banshee because we do have liftoff over here. And so, prepare yourselves. Banshee play is imminent. So Doc going for the one base Banshee, which is probably going to be followed up by a pretty all-in Marine push. Well, Hellions, I would guess, unless we see Widow Mines coming out of this factory. But yep, Hellions from this factory, along with the starport just getting started. So a little bit of a tech delay from North Quab compared to his opponent, but oh no, it's a Raven. Okay. Alright, so Raven coming out of the starport, another reactor going down on the factory, more Marines coming out here. Very interesting differentiation in builds between these two players. Gonna be interesting to see what comes of it. We do see a couple of Hellions moving across the map. There's a hole right now in this wall, which I believe is not big enough for Hellions. It looks like it's a hard wall, but I suppose we'll find out. Either way, there are enough Marines here to not worry about it. And all of these buildings need to go and switch up who's sitting where and who's attached to what. Meaning that we have a Tech Lab. Yeah, I would expect to see tanks and Marines popping out here. Now these Hellions are going to move up the map, but they just don't have what they need to take out this number of Marines, so they're going to head back, go home, relax, take a breather. Expo is about halfway done for Doc, so he is going for a little bit of economy behind this push, but I would imagine we're seeing a push pretty soon as a tank and a medevac are just about to finish up. However, no more Marines being pumped out over there, and with a number of Hellions moving across the map, look at this little lonely Hellion. With a number of Hellions moving across the map, no opening though, so never mind. I was going to say, I'm like, they're going to have an opportunity to sneak through that opening and do some damage, but there is no opening. The tank and the medevac finish up. Another tank is on the way with another medevac and a chunk of Marines. A big push could be coming out of Doc pretty soon, but he needs to be careful about moving out of position here. Alright, he does see it, he does move accordingly. He's going to siege up, probably put a scan down, and start the damage parade. Just one shot goes off on the tank, which, to be fair, is good, but it's definitely not as much as he might have wanted. And Hellions getting some great damage off on those Marines. Good placement there. Viking to stop any drops, very good choice. And an interesting choice of medevac, but we'll see what he ends up doing with that. Meanwhile, the factory has moved over to the reactor, who's going to be pumping out Hellions, as we see a Tech Lab, a reactor, and another factory starting to come down. So, oh, what's this? Hellions have moved into the base. They have snuck past everything. They're going to be able to move themselves over here and get quite a few SCVs. Good pick by North Quab, getting through when he had the opportunity. But a big old drop happening over here at his natural, and although he doesn't lose as many SCVs, he does lose a big chunk of this army. And if this push moves into his base, he's going to lose a big chunk of just about everything. Doc needs to be a little more ballsy with it, though. He needs to push himself into the main and start really taking the damage that he needs, because over here he is losing SCVs upon SCVs. That's 12 down so far for Doc. One last Hellion. These tanks are coming back, and that big push from Doc is not going to be quite as big as it might have been able to pull off. He does do some econ damage, but not nearly as much as his opponent does to him. Sitting now at 14-8 with a pretty quick remax, but it's not the drones he was looking for. That's for certain. I'm not sure who those used to belong to, but they're dead now. SCV starts moving over. Long distance mining resulting in auto turret death. Well, mules and units starting to move over to that third, which has now become the natural because this natural is unsafe. And if you're Terran in any matchup except TVT, this is the spawning position you want. This really short distance for drops to your opponent's natural is incredible. And because it spawns this way, it gives a bit of an advantage to Doc. Those last couple auto turrets being taken down, it gives an advantage to Doc because this short distance goes into Doc's main, whereas his short distance goes into this very big ledge off of his opponent's natural. So Doc definitely has an advantage just based on spawning positions, but as much as he did do damage with that push, it wasn't enough to really... It wasn't enough to make me think that he's really taken advantage of that spawning advantage. Now there's a big old mech push coming across the map from North Quad. If we look at the army supply, it's 44 to 46. It does still favor Doc a little bit, and Doc has a defender's advantage with 2 tanks sieged at the top of this ramp. But these Vikings going to be able to see what they're dealing with, realize that they just do not have what they need. Tank's going to siege up to try and hold him in on 2 bases. Good decision by North Quad to just siege up, keep his opponent on 2 bases, pump some more tanks, and go economic, rather than trying to push there, because with a defender's advantage and a slight disadvantage in numbers, there's a good chance North Quad would have lost a whole lot if he had tried to go for a push there. Now we do have a drop in the new natural of North Quad, which is going to take out 4 SCVs, 5 SCVs, and Tank going to be able to clear it up pretty efficiently. This Hellions going to take out 1 more right before they leave, totaling up to 7. Medevac picks up. Oh, the Medevac with some good movement here. Going to possibly... We'll see what this does. There's a chance this drop could do quite a bit of damage. There is a tank just coming out. Oh, and a poor choice. The Hellions going just not the way that they needed to. Very good for North Quad that the Hellions made that decision. Keeps them from getting damage. And now a tank standoff. Tanks versus tanks, the swarm hosts of TVT. And now Doc at a supply disadvantage, despite his previous advantage. And, oh, Doc with a good play here. Doc realizing that he had more Vikings, taking out his opponent's Vikings, and was thinking about dropping on top of those tanks, but it's just not worth the risk with the Hellbat standing there. However, his opponent unsieging gives Doc an opportunity to move his units down, but +1 upgrades are about to finish for North Quad, and he still has a supply advantage. He also has 3 bases against his opponent's 2. He has better upgrades, better supply. All in all, North Quad is in a very good position right now. Doc catching out 2 more of those Vikings, some good damage there. Great picks from Doc, though, on those Hellbats. Good tank positioning, doing some good damage. Viking count still favoring Doc quite a bit, able to go over there, take out those Vikings. Oh, and the Thor. Thor is here. His Hellions tried to go do a little bit of damage, but to no avail. There was a Viking ready for him. And now his Hellions are responding. North Quad moving his Hellions into the middle of the line, but the army is right there ready to catch them. They do not get any kills out of it. The tanks begin to siege up as he sees his opponent moving, and North Quad is going to be able to avoid that pretty efficiently. The scan's going down. We're going to see an army engage here. The tanks do siege up for both players, but North Quad knows that he doesn't have what it takes. But they're going to both siege up. Anyway, North Quad losing a whole lot of units here. A lot of the front row units from Doc going down, but this number of tanks is just ridiculous. He's able to siege up, starts to get damage back over, and is it going to be enough? The upgrade advantage for North Quad means a lot more damage comes out of his tanks than his opponents. The scan goes down. It's 2 tanks to 2 tanks, but we're looking at 1-1 versus... Oh, wait. Oh, no, they're even on upgrades now. Just better positioning, better firing coming out of North Quad. A good pickup from the Medevac there. leaving Doc in a rough position. His opponent definitely leading now, 104 to 73, along with Infernal Pre-Igniters on the way, or as we like to say, Blue Flame Hellions. Vehicle Weapons level 2 is just about to finish up for North Quab. Well, it's just starting for Doc, and with some movement down here, those Hellbats with the SCVs are enough to take out this chunk of units. Oh, good hits down there. That high ground siege, very good for North Quad. Able to do some pretty significant damage on Doc. Does take out one of his remaining tanks. And again, Doc is a huge supply disadvantage here. And also at a pretty significant economic disadvantage. There's a fourth base, which is a planetary. And a lot of saturation from North Quad that his opponent simply does not have. Well, these Hellions doing some good motion around the map, trying to get some damage. But if they move up here, they're going to be met with a very scary planetary fortress. Oh, they do get in time, but they're not going to be able to get much. And on seeing that, Doc just can't handle it. GG goes down, and Game 1 goes to North Quad. Didn't do another one. Alright. Spawning in the 9 o'clock position of Catalina. The Orange Terran coming off of a win in last game from CT6EU. It is North Quab. His opponent spawning in the 5 o'clock position. The Blue Terran from Team UnRivaled. It is Doc. Now North Quab not only coming off of a win in the last game, but his team won this match overall, winning the best of 9. With some fantastic plays, really fantastic plays from both teams, all of their players. But CT6 doing some great things to clinch that win in the end. It was very close up until the last games. So both players, you know, it's still early game, doing the same thing as they always do. A little better understanding this game of what their opponents do. A little better understanding of you know, what your enemy is going to play like, you know, their play style, their ideology, how they react, how they scout. So second game in these kind of series are always interesting to watch. It's always interesting to see how two people who have never played each other go from a first game with little to no information about their opponent's play style into a second game where they know exactly what their opponent wants and how they react and how they play and how they, you know, try to make up for that. It's always interesting to watch. And so, if we go back over to this base, we do see, again, a gas before barracks, which might turn into a quick factory again. And we see the same thing from North Quab this time. So, interesting change in his build this game. Probably deciding that part of the reason his build worked so well last time was because it wasn't expected and scouted, and thinking he might not want to do the same thing again. We do see Reaper coming out again from North Quab, however. And Reactor this time from Doc, rather than the really fast... Oh, interesting. Doc goes for the Reactor and then cuts... goes for the Reactor and then cuts gas. So it's looking like he might be going for some Mass Marines, like an all-in. Nope, Command Center. Okay. No all-in. Just a CC. And besides, this Reaper would scout it, and he would be able to respond accordingly. So it's probably for the best he didn't. But we do see a 3 racks over here. Another Reaper is on the way. 3 racks from North Quab. Oh, yeah, Grim, I live in a dorm, so there's people all the time. It's also homecoming weekend, so woo girls galore. now the Reaper gets up here. He's going to start scanning. He sees the reactor, sees the number of Marines, but he's not going to see much more than that because this is a huge number of Marines, and it's time for him to get out. Here's the big question. Did he see the second command center? No! The Reaper does not see the second CC, and based on the reactor and the number of Marines, he's probably going to assume that this is an all-incoming and respond accordingly, but now he's going to see the command center. So now he has a better idea of what's going on. These two Reapers not able to take out that SCV quite in time to finish it off. And more Reapers coming down over here. Just Reapers on Reapers. Not quite mass Reapers though. Reactor, reactor, command center. Definitely, two SCVs taken out. Definitely going to see some really aggressive play coming out of North Quad with those reactors. And a factory just now finishes up for Doc. And the real question here is, what attachment are we going to see? It looks like it's going to be moving over to the reactor. Yep, the factory is taking the reactor, so we're going to see Hellions in a second. 3 Reapers come up, but not quite enough to deal with this big old chunk of Marines. Hellions do start getting produced. Marines are already on the map. And North Quab pumping out a lot of Marines here to try and defend if he needs to, along with Stimpack. But it's going to be a defense, if anything. It's certainly not enough to kill the big old chunk of Marines that his opponent has. Good splits from Doc, covering all of these potential ledges so that the Reapers do not have the chance to get up. And the Starport just now finishes up over on Doc's side. It starts producing medevacs, while his opponent is still sitting on Rackstack. Excuse me. Big, beautiful Rackstack. Alright, now we do finally see a push coming. Doc is pushing himself across the map with, if we look at the units tab, 12 Marines and 3 Hellions against 12 Marines and 3 Reapers. So the Reaper's definitely the better unit to have in this particular situation, especially with the defender's advantage in a bunker. And Doc knows that. Doc sees that. And he's not going to take the risk. He's going to be pumping out 2 more Hellions and a Viking. Is he going to go for a drop, or is he going to use this medevac to his advantage? Oh, the 3 Reapers get up on the high ground. They are going to see the medevac, though, but they are not going to see that the medevac is loaded. Oh, God. Good reaction there from Doc. There's an opportunity for that to go very, very, very badly for him if those units would have gotten just chopped through. But they do not. If we look at the units tab, it is now 21-12. Although there are 6 Hellions, the Hellions aren't going to do very much in a fight versus... Alright, there's a pause. No worries. Ready. Yep. So we're now on the other side of that pause. Doc is sitting back here. PP again. It isn't too bad, though. Here's that bad. It's okay. It'll pass. Alrighty. Ready. Go. Yeah. I like to imagine it was like, go, attack. And so Doc here pushing up the ramp. Is it going to be enough, though? It looks like no. He's taking a lot of damage from this. He is able to take down the bunker, but not before he loses almost all of his units. And North Quab, with a huge Marine army now, is sitting at 25-2 in Marines. There is only 1 barracks to be produced out of. There are Hellions on the way, but this push could be devastating for Doc, especially down 1 game in the series. North Quab could finish it all out with this, and so he has Marines moving across the map, ready to go. There are 2 Marines sitting here. There is a Hellion drop moving into his base, but those Hellions don't matter. He has way too much to be worried about it. These Marines also have Stim ready to go. They do hit Stim. They start moving in. They're able to take down the Raven soon, I would assume, but not before an auto turret goes down. He's going to have to lift off that barracks, but the barracks is still going to go down. Just too much damage that comes out of these units. Hellions do start to move toward the Marines. Hellions do very well against Marines, but is it going to be enough? It looks like maybe it is. Most of these Marines getting cleaned up. Not very much left for Doc. North Quab definitely doing the damage he needs and continuing to parade units across the map. 13 SCV kills and a pull. Huge hit for North Quab, putting him very far in the lead. Combat Shield about to finish up for him. And Hellion's moving across the map to see what kind of damage they can get, but there's already this big chunk of Marines back at home. and 3 more barracks being produced, along with a number of medevacs. North Guab is just in a fantastic position right now. Really, really in a good place. This auto turret, does he have any kills? Oh, it won't say. I imagine that auto turret had a couple kills. I want a hero turret. First medevac does finish up over here. We have a drop with the Hellions, but there are Marines ready to go. Stim comes off with the Marines. There's nowhere for the Hellions to go. They have to pick back up and try and run away. Are there enough Marines to take it out? It looks like no. Medevac is able to escape safely and get itself out of the way. Doc is just about to finish rebuilding his second command center, but +1 weapons is about to finish up for North Glob, and even this drop alone could be absolutely devastating with the kind of upgrade advantage that he has. But the Hellion spots it. How is he going to respond to this? It looks like it's going to be a drop back here as a parade of units comes in, and with this many Marines, I can't imagine we're going to see any way for Doc to hold this. He just doesn't have the units that he needs. He's pumping out Hellions, but he just doesn't have the numbers. Now, there are Hellions in his base doing a good amount of damage on these SCVs, but with a couple Marines, they're ready to take it. A huge chunk of Hellions here. Oh, but those Hellions are going to react to the drop. They're going to go try and take care of that. And meanwhile, this huge chunk of SCVs is moving in through the front. This huge chunk of Marines is moving in through the front of the map. SCV is going to go down. 8 for Doc, 4 for North Quab. The Hellions move back over, and with Blue Flame, do a very good job of tearing through those Marines. And Doc, with the major Hellion production, is able to counter and respond and not die. However, there's still a lot back home. In a bunker, a full wall off of any kind, especially one with a bunker, is very scary to Hellions. These Hellions are going to move up, and the SCVs are still building, which puts them in a bit of a worrisome position. But there is a tank already ready. The tank can siege up, hoping the Hellions move up one more time. Big shots come down from the tank, going to be able to get at least 1 kill there. No? Oh, the kill must have gone to someone else. Alright, so now that this wall off finishes up, Hellions are going to either have to drop or aren't going to be able to do damage. Hellions just don't really do much damage in that particular position. Now, we do have a full medevac of Marines coming out from North Quab. Looks like it's going to be going for the natural and is not going to get scouted. But there is a big chunk of Hellions already sitting here along with a tank, so I can't imagine this drop will do too much damage. Yeah, and that drop's going to get cleaned up right away. Does a good job of dropping in motion, so they can do a little bit, but the Vikings take out the medevacs. These Marines are stranded now, and with a tank sieged up, they're just going to get torn right through. However, it's quite an army right here from North Quab. A little bit of a Hellion drop going over here, but not enough SCVs present to do it. A good pull really quick from those guys, as most of them are down here. The army of Doc begins its transition from Hellion into Hellbat, a very good unit against this army comp of Doc, or this army comp of North Quab, which is Marines. Oh, and good placement from the tanks, but is it going to be enough? There's just too many Marines. Doc can't take it. Throws down the GG. Game 2 to North Quab, and like the series itself, player from CT6 ends up winning the ace match as well. Fantastic play by everybody on both sides. Thank you very much to everybody who came to hang out and to watch. I really appreciate it. If you liked what you heard, want to watch me stream and cast more often, you can go over to twitch.tv/Happybythree, all one word. Follow me over there. I stream 2 to 3 hours a night and cast every week of the CTL that I possibly can, along with some extra community casting for some other tournaments. So thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out. It's been a blast. And see you guys later.